miss all the people. I love Vancouver, which is where it shoots. And I just love, like, I get to see some of the actors when we do the conventions, and that's awesome. Because usually you finish a show and you don't have that opportunity. It's fun to see when you do wind up working with people again on different shows, which has happened to me. But at the conventions I've been to so far, I've been with other actors on the show, so that's great. But I miss the whole atmosphere of the set. I miss that character because I really enjoyed the journey that she got to go on, and I know I have my own ideas about what's happening now, and I miss getting to explore that story. You know, she spent so much of the season being very angry and being very sad and spending a lot of time, like, I was like, why is Amara always hanging out, like, in the woods and in these, like, dark, damp places? And Ruth and I were joking when we were shooting together in this, like, big, cold silo that we didn't understand why Rowena and Amara wouldn't go to, like, the spa and have these conversations there. It'd be a lot nicer. So I think that there's a lot that could happen that would be really interesting, because you have these two, the way that they have created their version of God, and then this the foil to that, the darkness, that in and of itself is such an interesting conflict. And then the fact that God is also this, like, this very lovable, kind of flawed and goofy guy, who also happens to be an incredibly talented musician in real life. I think that there's going to be a lot of awkwardness in them trying to figure each other out. And my silly version of what happens, like I said to one of the producers, I was like, well, what if, like, there's like not in every episode, but in episodes throughout the season, you see this, like, musical duo, like, singing, at random places that Sam and Dean are going, and they're just in the background, like, you never really focus on them, and it's like the traveling band that Chuck and Amara have formed, and they're just like this brother and sister act. I also think that they probably have, like, a really cool loft where they hang out with lots of games, much like what's happening in there right now. And so I think it'd be a good, like, timeout place for Sam and Dean to come to when they're tired of dealing with Crowley and, dealing with all the angels and demons and all that drama. I want Amara to have a chance at really trying to see how she can complement God's creation and work with him now that she's come to respect it, and now that she appreciates it. And I don't think that's going to come easy, because we still have to remember that she did spend all of her existence locked up. And also, one of the things I loved about her was that she was, even though she, for most of the season, was an adult, she was still very new to this world, and there was a kind of innocence and confusion and, like, why on earth do things work this way? And I think that's still something she's faced with. I don't think she just automatically understands. Those of us who have actually lived in the world for a number of decades don't understand why things work the way they do. So I just feel like there's so many possibilities, and I do hope we get a chance to see how she comes back and tries to help Sam and Dean, and how she deals with this whole business of, resurrecting a dead person, and what the fallout is of that. So who knows? I do hope it happens, though. I think on a very simple level, one of the reasons that she felt this connection to him is because he was the first person, and for a while the only person, who actually, like, listened to her and tried to understand her. He didn't, and he resisted that as best he could. But ultimately, he was the one who saw what she really needed. And I take her at her word when she says that she will protect him and she will watch after him. I don't know ultimately what that would look like. I don't think, I know the fans probably wouldn't be happy if they actually wound up together, so I don't hope for that. But I hope they can be friends at least, and occasionally, like, exchange some sultry looks. But I don't think that they need to be, like, boyfriend and girlfriend or anything. I think they just there is this deeper connection that they both have that neither of them fully understands. And I think that they'll continue to find, I mean, Sam and Dean are always going to be needing help. And I think that if he ever calls on Amara again, she would be there to help him. But I don't know if there's any neat and tidy resolution to it. I don't think there should be. How could it be, though? You bring back a dead person? That's not no strings attached. I love it. I think it's like one of the most well-intentioned and awkward gifts ever. And I love that she's like, I'm going to give you back your dead mother. And then she just disappears. She's like, all right, bye. Good luck with that. I don't think that's going to be a no strings attached thing. And I don't mean like she puts conditions on it, but I think that it's not a simple gift. There's going to be a lot of complications, I think, that come from that. And I don't know if she'll come back to clean up that mess or not, but he's going to have a lot to deal with for sure. There weren't at the beginning, but I think, I mean, one of the first things I connected to with Amara, because I didn't know at the beginning that she was God's sister, and then I didn't know for a long time who God was. Even once we set up that she was God's sister, I don't think they'd fully decided if they were going to really make Chuck God. But I loved that. That made her very human to me, that she had this really simple conflict with this one, not person, but this one being who, I mean, I had decided that she cared a lot about him because I think she wouldn't be so angry at him if she didn't care a lot about him. I think that's like where we get angriest at the people that make us feel the most vulnerable and we feel like we have something to lose. So that was a relief to me that they had introduced this character who does have all this power and who can, bring down lightning and seems indestructible, but ultimately, like, her heart is broken and she really wants to find this person being her brother who abandoned her and who didn't believe in her and who didn't understand her. And now she's come into this world that he created and everyone's against her just because he told them to be. I mean, that just, the human struggle of that was really relatable to me. And I think that, even though we didn't speak at first specifically about that, how that related to Sam and Dean, I think that that's also, why we connect to them so much. Because even though they're these two guys who can, come up with all these crazy ways of defeating monsters and demons and ghosts and, can die and come back to life, like, ultimately, we relate to the human problems they have and the really stupid arguments they get into and the ways that they get so mad at each other just because they're bound by blood and they're brothers. And so that was, because at first, like, when I got the script for the season finale, I was surprised that it got resolved, not easily, but, considering all the drama that had happened in the season, it felt like such a good, positive resolution, and I was kind of surprised. And when Andrew Dabb explained it to me in that context, well, ultimately, like with everything that happens on this show, the thing that people connect to is this idea of these two brothers who will fight for each other no matter what, even when they're pissed off at each other, even when they're at odds, they have each other's backs. And so the idea that they had written God and, God's opposite as, at essence, these two siblings who need each other and just have to figure out how to get along. That was so simple and beautiful to me. And then thinking about it in the context of the show and Sam and Dean was really helpful in understanding that that's how the story could resolve. It's been, overwhelmingly positive. And it really does feel like a family. I've only been to a few conventions so far, but I'm amazed at how welcomed I feel, and I'm amazed at how important the conventions and the fandom are to the show. We talk about the conventions when we're shooting the show, when we're on set, and we talk about fans' responses to things. And I've never been on a show with that solidly connected a fan base who are so invested in it and who love it so much and who, I remember when I was first talking to Jensen about the conventions, and he said the show, even though it's so fantastical and there's all these crazy things that happen, one of the great things about that is that people are able to connect a lot of their own struggles that they've had with depression, with heartache, with family conflict. There's something that's a relief about it being personified or not personified, but made into something tangible on the show. So like you have the demons, you have angels, you have, all these things that happen. And I think like that's one of the most powerful things that you can ask for. And I think that's why we have to have stories, because, we analyze ourselves and we look at ourselves and we look at like how we need to change and we psychoanalyze. And sometimes the easiest way, I think, to express ourselves is through some other story, through something that's not directly us. And so I think a lot of people have found this relief in being able to connect to these characters and connect to what happens on the show. And they bring that joy to the conventions with them. And they bring these stories of heartache and trouble, and they share them with us, and they share them with each other, and they find a community. And so many people have told me about the friends that they've made at conventions that they only see at the conventions, and it's this great reunion every time they come together. And I love that. I love that the show carries on far beyond, what we shoot and what shows on the TV screen, that there is this whole community and this family that gets to benefit from that, and that carries on those ideas. It's really special. Of course I want more. I would be at peace, because I think that I don't think it wrapped up nice and neat. I think it's great that they agreed to go off, into the heavens, whatever, together. But I don't think anyone thinks that, oh, okay, that's it. Everything's fixed. I don't believe that. I think it's going to continue to be an interesting journey for the two of them and not always smooth. So I can have all those ideas in my own imagination. And for me, on a personal level, the fact that I get to keep spending time with everyone at the conventions means that I still get to see a lot of them and have those relationships. So that's a relief. But no, of course I want more. I would be at peace. I wouldn't be angry at anybody, but I hope that we get to see more.